I was talking with Ray Franklin, a guy who some people in this congregation know, a guy who was a missionary here in Okinawa for about 16 years, I believe. He was here for quite some time, and he is presently working in a Baptist college in America. But he came back to Okinawa and visited with some of us, and I had a wonderful chance to talk with him. And we talked about what things used to be like in Okinawa and how they are now. And we also talked about some of the challenges that the church in Japan is facing. And as we were talking about this, one of the challenges that he brought up was the challenge of pluralism. And he said it's a big problem with Baptists in the mainland, although it really isn't too much of a problem here in Okinawa as of yet. This idea hasn't gone so far as to reach Okinawa quite yet. But it's something that I wanted to talk with you about this morning because it's something that is addressed in the first commandment. So listen closely. I'm going to tell you what religious pluralism is. Religious pluralism is the belief that all religions lead to God, so that people in any religion can be saved through whatever God they choose to worship. Religious pluralism is the belief that all religions lead to God, so that people in any religion can be saved through whatever God they choose to worship. Now, Mr. Franklin was telling me that this is an idea that has become very popular in the mainland lately, and it is an idea that has been taught to people in the mainland from people in the West. This sort of an idea about God has been very popular in the West for quite some time. There is a very influential church leader from the West whose name is N.T. Wright, and he said that this sort of thinking is perhaps the greatest unspoken premise of modern thought within the Christian church. So not everyone comes out and says it with their lips, but there are so many people in the West that believe this sort of thing in their heart. They believe that there is some sort of a wider hope beyond Christianity whereby men can know God. That's what so many Americans believe today. That's what so many Europeans believe today. And that's what a lot of people in the mainland are beginning to believe as well. There's a tendency in the West for us to export our ideas. Sometimes we in the West can give good ideas to people throughout the world, whether it is in Okinawa or in the Philippines. But sometimes we can bring our bad ideas with us as well, and we can teach you things that are not true. And that is the case with this particular problem. We have begun to teach people that there is a wider hope beyond Christianity. And this is something that people in Okinawa and people in the Philippines are eventually going to have to deal with. This idea is going to make it to your shore soon enough. The first commandment forbids us to think that there is a way to God and there is a way to peace to God outside of a knowledge of this one true God. This is the God who has revealed himself, and he is the only way that men can be saved. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So religious pluralism is the belief that all religions lead to God and that people in any religion can be saved by God. And it is closely related to something else. It is closely related to pluralism within a society. Religious pluralism is not the same as pluralism within society. One is bad, the other, in my humble opinion, is really, really good. But there's a tendency for these two things to be related. And so the first thing that I want to do with you today is to talk about pluralism within a society, how a society can become very mixed. We who are from America live in what is becoming a pluralistic society. Within America, we are beginning to see things change. Instead of being one people, we are becoming more and more many different peoples. A mixture of different peoples and religions and cultures and languages. That is so true in so many parts of America today. Certainly you can see it in New York, where You can see people from every tongue and tribe and nation there in one city. But even in my tiny little hometown in Clayton, Alabama, you can begin to see that we are becoming a very mixed society as people from throughout South America moved into this little town with 1,500 people. Okinawa has been a mixed society for many years. And that's one of the wonderful things about Okinawa. There had been influences here from Korea. There had been influences here from China. There have been influences here from Japan and America and so many other different nations. And that has contributed to the champeru that we have here, the mixture of peoples and ideas. And that is something that's becoming more and more true for America. It's becoming more and more true for the Philippines. It's something that is certainly true within the military community. You guys are a mixture of all different sorts of people within the military. So these are societies that are becoming a mixture of different peoples with different ideas. And there is even a sense in which the world itself is becoming more and more of a mixture. It's becoming more and more pluralistic. Think about what things were like throughout the world a couple of hundred years ago. A couple of hundred years ago, it was possible for nations to remain by themselves, not influenced so much by other peoples and other ideas. But that's not so true anymore. A couple of hundred years ago, each nation could have its own belief and its own culture without other nations coming in and influencing these beliefs and its culture very much. And one of the major reasons for that was that contact between the nations was limited. Today, all of the different countries in the world are moving much closer and closer together. A few years ago, there was a man whose name was Thomas Friedman, and he wrote a book that was called The World is Black. It was something that a lot of the Americans have read. It was one of the great bestsellers in America. And this book talks about how the forces that have happened in the last couple of hundred years have caused the world to seem like a much smaller place. Friedman talks about some of the economic forces that have caused us to come together. In the old days, trading ships would come into Okinawa or come into other parts of the world, and they would come, they would take the stuff off the boat, and then they would leave. The amount of influence that other nations had on the nations where there was trading was limited. But today, the economic forces have caused us to move much closer and closer together. Today, there are plenty of products that are made by a Japanese country that have parts that were made in China and Malaysia and Taiwan and Brazil. And then there are also so many companies that will do what they need to do in order to save money. And so not far from where my parents-in-law live in Alabama, there is a Toyota factory. There's a Japanese company that is operating inside America because it is more affordable for them to do so. And so there's becoming a strong influence of Japanese people nearby my parents-in-law's house. And so you begin to see this trading of these trading of cultures and these trading of ideas is promoted by economic means. There are also forces of information that have moved us closer together. Friedman talks a lot about the internet. The internet has certainly brought people from faraway places closer and closer together. What do you do if you want to know about something that you don't know about? 200 years ago, you would have gone to the person that was working close by you, and you would say, "Well, what is this? I've never heard of this before." Or you would go to someone in your family and you'd say, "What is this?" Today, the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to type it into Google and you're going to hit search. And boom, all the information in the world is right there at your fingertips. And beyond that, you are able to influence other parts of the world with your own ideas. You can start up a blog absolutely for free. You can go into Blogger, all the different blogging sites, and you can start up a blog for free, and you can let the entire world know about your ideas. And before long, it is possible for you to have fans that are reading your blog in Pakistan.